Hello there, this is Max, and welcome to the Anderson system. And so today I want to talk to you guys about hearing the voice of your alter or alters. And so I'm Max, and I'm an alter in the Anderson system. And as an alter, sometimes, you want to communicate and talk to your host. You want to communicate and talk to other people that live in your system. And so the best way to do it, at least in our system, we have a place in the inner world called the living room. And the living room is a place where authors can go sit on the couch, relax, drink some tea, and just try to communicate with one another. Whether it's communicating to the host or it's communicating to other people in the system, it's a way for us to communicate. And so hearing the voice of your author could be very interesting, I will say. The reason why I say interesting is because if you're new to a DID diagnosis, or you suspect you may have DID, and sometimes it may get you off guard when you hear another voice speaking to you, because it's not a normal thing to hear a voice in your head. And I'm not talking about your own inner monologue, because we all have, well, not everyone has inner monologue, and some people don't have inner monologues. But majority of people have inner monologues of their own thoughts that they're hearing inside their head. But when you have DID, it's more than just one inner monologue. There's different monologues. There's different thought patterns that take place, which are voices. And so yes, in DID you hear voices in your head. And so as an alter, I am fronting right now. And so if another alter wants to talk to me, they have to talk to me through the headspace. And so I will hear them like I hear a thought. Except that thought tends to have a different voice, a different vocabulary, a different flavor to it, basically. And so sometimes, it can be very interesting when you hear the voice of your alter, Like, for instance, like for us in our system, when I'm not in the inner world, and if I'm fronting, I can be at chilling at at a restaurant or something, and I'll hear one of the voices of the alters, talk, they'll make comments about people in the restaurant, and it'd be kind of funny because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys said that, I'm glad you guys are not fronting, because if you would have said that out loud, that would have been kind of, embarrassing or maybe offensive to some people, who knows. But the fact that your alters speak to you in your headspace is very interesting. But the difference between hearing voices with DID versus hearing voices with schizophrenia, when someone who has schizophrenia, they hear voices too inside their head, but the voices don't really talk back to them. There's no conversational monologue that happens there. But with DID, there's a conversation of backwards and forwards. Like for me, instance, if I'm in the inner world and Adam is fronting, I can talk to Adam and say, hey, Adam, guess what? This is happening, blah, blah, blah. And I can talk to him, and he can talk to me back telepathically in the headspace, and I can hear him, and he can hear me. And there's a full conversation going on. Unlike schizophrenia, when it's a one-way street where you hear a voice and it tells you to do blah, 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 but there is no conversation. There's no dialogue there. But when you have DID, there's definitely dialogue when you hear the voices that's inside your head. But how do you manage the voices? Because sometimes it can get loud in the headspace, believe me. And I'm not saying I have not done it myself. When I'm not fronting, I've definitely made myself louder in the headspace. And so I say how you can get through that is find out what is triggering your system. Like, if you're in a place that it can be very triggering, that can actually have you hear voices more inside your head. There can be more I can say commotion inside your head if you if you're in a place that causes you to feel triggered a lot. Also, it depends. It doesn't have to be necessarily a bad trigger. It can be a good trigger. It can be something exciting, like going to an amusement park or something. Especially if you go to a place where there's like that. Like, for example, like if I go to a place where there's a lot of games or something a kid will like, my littles will come out and they want to talk and they want to chatter because they are excited about being out. They're excited about hearing about it, and so they'll chatter in the headspace. And if they feel brave enough, they will front. And so that's what happens in our system. Or sometimes it can just be this: people are just all in the living room and people just want to talk and people just want to converse. And so it happens a lot in our system. So if you have DID, or you suspect you may have DID, and you're starting to hear these voices, and you try to figure out what's going on, try talking to them. If you think you may have DID, try talking to the voices and see if they talk back. If they talk back to you in a more how can I word it? If they talk back to you in a way that's coherent and you can understand them, then you know it's probably your alter, because an alter will talk back to you, and it should be a coherent conversation. It should be something that can be understood, and something that you guys can go backwards and forwards and have a dialogue. And when you have a dialogue with the alter, if they're saying things you didn't think of, and that's another way you can tell if you're talking to alter in your head, is that if they will say something that you will not think of. It's kind of like a dream, like when you have dream characters and they'll say something, but you didn't thinking about it, even though they're inside your head. They talk on their own, and when they say to you, it's something like new information, because it's kind of like talking to a friend or someone on the street. It's just like, okay, you cannot predict what they're gonna say. That's kind of what I mean. You can't really predict what they're gonna say. And so, yeah, when it comes to hearing voices in your head with DID, it's very, very common, very, very normal to hear voices in your head. And sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes you really want to, I mean, I partied a lot in the world. Believe me, I partied a lot. And I'm sorry for doing that, because when I front, man, I'm telling you, karma gets my ass. Karma gets my ass. And next, I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm telling everyone else in the system to be quiet, because they're pretty loud. I'm like, damn, you guys are loud. And I realized I was one of those guys that were pretty loud in the system. So it's completely normal, again, to hear your alters in a DID system. So thank you very much, and bye-bye.